The ship fell from the stars like a wounded bird. Commander Rian Holt watched from the ridge of the desolate moon as the alien craft tore through the thin orange sky and slammed into the sands below, scattering shards of metal and blue fire across the horizon. His visor dimmed automatically, but he didn't look away. Not this time. For months, the moon of Isra 9 had been silent, dead except for his own breath and the static hum of his broken comms. Now something had fallen from the heavens, something alive. He gripped the railgun at his side and began the trek down the rocky slope. His boots sank into the ash-laced dust, each step leaving a faint glow behind, the radiation of the surface reacting with his human biosuit. He had been stranded here for 112 days. The crash could mean rescue, or more danger. When he reached the wreckage, he found a sleek black craft, not human-made. Its hull pulsed faintly with veins of silver light. The symbols etched into it were curved and elegant, like music turned into metal. Something inside was moving. Rian pried open the hatch with a grunt, the hiss of decompression filling the thin air. Smoke spilled out along with a faint melody. Not sound, but a kind of vibration that thrummed through his skull. He aimed his railgun into the smoke. A figure stumbled out. Lender. Wrapped in torn robes that shimmered faintly like oil in starlight. Her skin was silver blue, her hair almost white, and her eyes were unlike anything he had ever seen. Twin orbs of shifting violet and gold, as though galaxies lived inside them. She fell to her knees in the ash. Rian lowered his weapon and rushed forward, catching her before she collapsed entirely. She whispered something in a language his translator couldn't parse. Then in halting English, a strange accent melodic and soft, she said, "You are the monster of this world." Her words hit him harder than any bullet. "I'm just a man," he said, lowering her gently. "You're safe now." But she shook her head weakly. "No one is safe near you." And then she fainted. Part 2. The last two beings on Isra 9. The alien girl's name was Sarai. He learned when she woke days later in the cave he used for shelter. Rian had patched her wounds as best he could, using the medkits scavenged from the remnants of his own ship. Her physiology was strange, her blood shimmered faintly under light, and her heartbeat was slower, steadier, almost like music. When she finally stirred, her first words were, "You saved me, why?" Rian chuckled dryly. "Because that's what humans do when we're not being monsters." Her gaze was piercing. "You are the monster, the destroyer, the one who burns worlds." He froze. "What are you talking about?" She looked past him, through the cave mouth to the barren wasteland outside. "This moon was once green. My people tended it. Then came your fleets, the Terran expansion, the firestorms. You called it terraforming. We called it death." Rian stared at the ground. "That wasn't me." "But you wear their mark," she said softly, pointing to the insignia on his suit, the twin sons of the Terran Republic. "And your kind kills to survive." He didn't deny it. He couldn't. For a long while, neither of them spoke. The wind howled outside, whispering through the skeletal remains of a world lost. Days turned into weeks. Rian repaired what he could from the wreckage of her ship and his own. He shared his rations with her, synthetic nutrient bars that she despised, though she ate them with polite restraint. She showed him how to filter water from the moon's thin ice veins using crystals from her crashed vessel. Slowly, the hostility between them softened into something else. Curiosity. She told him stories of her homeworld, Orelise, a planet of endless skies and living seas. Her people, the Karai, were nomads among the stars, travelers who believed the cosmos was alive, a vast being of consciousness they called the Great Dreamer. They sought harmony with worlds, not conquest. Rian listened in silence. He envied that belief. One night, as they sat by the dim glow of his campfire generator, Sarai asked, "Why did you come here, Rian Holt?" He stared into the light. "Because I disobeyed orders." Her eyes narrowed. "You refused to kill." He nodded. "They told me to sterilize a colony of Karai survivors. Said it was protocol. No alien settlements allowed on Terran-claimed systems. I refused. They branded me a traitor, shot my ship down before I could escape orbit." She watched him quietly, her expression unreadable. Then she said, "Perhaps you are not the monster I thought." He smiled faintly. "Perhaps you're not the alien I was trained to fear." That night, for the first time in months, he slept without nightmares. Part 3. The Storm and the Signal. Weeks passed. Together they built a beacon, a hybrid of human and Karai technology. Sarai's ship had an intact core that could amplify a distress signal across star systems, but it needed a steady power source. Rian's damaged reactor could provide that, though it meant draining his life support systems. He didn't tell her that part. They worked side by side, scavenging parts, arguing over design, sharing strange laughter in the long hours of the dying days. The moon had begun to change, faint sprouts of moss growing where her blood had touched the soil. Her presence, he realized, was healing this place. But as they neared completion, a storm came. Not a natural one. A magnetic surge sweeping across the surface, born from the unstable core of the planet below. The sky turned crimson. Lightning danced like living serpents. Their shelter shook. Rian fought through the howling wind to secure the beacon's tower. Sarai called out to him through the static, her voice breaking. "You'll die out there." He shouted back, "The signal won't last through the storm, we have to finish it now." A bolt of plasma tore through the ridge, striking the tower. It collapsed halfway, the emitter falling toward the cliff. Without thinking, Rian ran and caught the falling unit. Hundreds of kilos of metal. His suit straining, alarms blaring. "Let it go," Sarai screamed. "It's not worth your life." He gritted his teeth. "It's the only chance we have." Another flash of lightning struck nearby. The heat seared his side. He screamed, dropped to one knee, but the beacon remained upright, barely. The storm began to fade, the crimson light dimming. Then silence. Sarai rushed to him, her hands glowing faintly as she pressed them to his wounds. He felt warmth spread through him, not just physical, but something deeper, like her energy was pouring into him. "You fool," she whispered. "You were willing to die for a machine." He looked at her weakly. "No, for you." Her expression softened, and tears like liquid light fell down her cheeks. "And I called you a monster." He smiled faintly. "You weren't wrong." Part 4. The Long Night. The beacon was activated. It sent out a pulse into the void, a signal carrying both Terran and Karai identifiers. It would take days to reach the nearest relay, and longer for any ship to arrive. Rian's injuries were worse than he admitted. His suit's med systems kept him stable, but his internal organs were damaged. He tried to hide it, but Sarai could sense it. The Karai were empathic. She could feel pain like music in the air. She stayed beside him through the long nights, humming ancient songs that resonated with the cave walls. The sound soothed him, made the pain bearable. One night, he woke to find her sitting beside him, her head resting lightly on his shoulder, asleep. Her hand was wrapped around his. For a moment, he simply watched her, this being who had called him a monster, yet now trusted him enough to sleep by his side. He wondered if this was what peace felt like. He brushed a strand of her silver hair aside and whispered, "Sleep well, Sarai." Outside, the stars shone brighter than they had in months. Part 5: The Rescue. The rescue ship came 12 days later. Terran vessel. Rian stood at the edge of the ridge, watching as the human craft descended. His heart pounded. He had dreamed of this moment for months. Salvation, yet now it felt like doom. Sarai stood beside him, cloaked in her repaired robes. "They will kill me," she said quietly. "Not if I can stop them," Rian said. He turned to her. "Go to the lower ravine. There's a cave system that leads to the equator. Wait for me there. I'll come find you." She touched his arm. "And if you don't?" He hesitated. "Then you run. Don't look back." When the Terran officers emerged, their faces were hard, their weapons ready. The commander, a man Rian once knew, saluted stiffly. "Commander Holt," the officer said coldly. "You're under arrest for desertion and treason." Rian raised his hands slowly. "Understood." They searched the area, found traces of alien technology. One soldier reported, "Sir, there are Karai energy signatures here." The commander's eyes narrowed. "Where?" Rian stepped forward. "In the wreckage. But there's nothing left. The alien's dead." The officer studied him for a moment. "Pity. High Command would have paid dearly for a live specimen." Rian didn't respond. He just let them cuff him and lead him toward the ship. As they lifted off, he looked through the viewport, searching the surface below. For a brief second, he thought he saw her, a glimmer of silver in the sand, watching him go. Part 6. The Promise. Months passed. Rian's court-martial was swift. He was branded a traitor again, sentenced to indefinite cryostasis. Yet something unexpected happened before the sentence was carried out. An unidentified energy wave swept through Terran space, disrupting every major relay. At its core was a signature, the same as the beacon he and Sarai built. The Karai were returning. As Rian lay inside the cryo chamber, moments before the freeze took him, he saw a vision, or perhaps a memory. Sarai, standing in a forest that glowed with alien light, her eyes shimmering like twin suns. Her voice echoed faintly. "You are not the monster. You are the bridge." And then everything went dark. Epilogue: The Dreamer's Awakening. Centuries later, explorers would find the logs of Commander Rian Holt, the man who defied the Terran Republic, who saved the last of the Karai. They would find records of a human and an alien girl who changed the fate of two civilizations. And somewhere, in the endless reaches of the galaxy, on a world reborn in green light, a figure with silver-blue skin would gaze at the stars and whisper, "Sleep peacefully, Rian Holt. The monster was never you."